Good morning, Mark. How are you doing today?
Arrow, how are you?
Absolutely fantastic. This is my kind of read, a book like this, because you are speaking my street.
So glad.
It had to have been a great journey for you because, I mean, you're talking about songs. I mean, first of all, I'm so glad you featured Blondie and Rapture because I still remember being that jock on the air that talked about this new thing called rap music, and she was doing it.
Yeah, she really was. I mean, very early on. I mean, it's just right after Rapper's Delight. So it's almost, and in fact, it's the first rap hit since Rapper's Delight wasn't as big a national hit as Rapture.
How did you get into doing this? I mean, you're a Wall Street guy. I mean, is it just a passion for music that you've got? I mean, what drew you to this?
I'm an arts guy, and I also have a master's in history. So the notion of looking back in time carefully and authoritatively to get a great story out of artists is what I do. And to do this, it's a dream that was never fulfilled as a teenager.
So did you want to be a jock?
No. Simply wanted to do the interviews. Simply wanted to do the interviews and give the reader a great read. I mean, the book, as you know, it's like a jukebox. You can go in at any song.
Yes.
You don't have to start at the beginning. You don't have to start at the end. You don't have to start in the middle. Jump in any place, read one chapter, go to chapter one. It lets you go anywhere you want.
Mark, that's exactly what I did. I mean, when I sat there and I saw Barracuda on the list, I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to talk about a song that I've played a million times.
Exactly. Well, you know, Barracuda is another one of those songs. I mean, two women fronting a hard rock band in the mid 1970s to late 1970s, and the song Barracuda isn't about a fish. It's about a lecherous record executive who harassed Ann Wilson backstage, and Ann went up to her room furious and wrote a poem, and that poem became the lyrics.
But does it
amazing, right?
It is amazing because I mean when Barracuda and Magic Man came out, I never once made a connection to Led Zeppelin. I never saw her as the female Robert Plant. But today I go, dude, why were you so blind? It's absolutely that situation.
I know, you know, it was a different mindset in the 70s. We saw them as sisters, you know, the whole culture was different. But today we view women very differently. We view them equally. We view them as, okay, does she have talent? Doesn't she have talent? And is it the same kind of talent I'm used to listening to? That we had all these different ways of looking at things back then, especially that executive who harassed Ann.
You're absolutely right about that when it comes to women, because I was madly in love with The Runaways, which featured Joan Jett. And when people said you need to find this new band Van Halen, I said, no, I'm all about The Runaways. This is my rock band.
Yeah, I mean, Joan Jett was a fabulous interview. I did that live on Long Island with her, and it was really, really something because Bad Reputation turns out to be something she was pissed about. In other words, it's not a pride song for her. She was ticked off that she had a bad reputation and wasn't being treated seriously like the guy rockers were. And that's what that song is about. It's about, hey, you know, I've got a bad reputation. So what? I'm just like everybody else you represent. Who's a man?
We're both blessed with the opportunity to create conversations with people who, as David Crosby would say, I'm lucky enough that I got to do this. And then but what happens is that we're preserving history. What are you going to do with your history in the years after you? That's my biggest struggle right now. Who gets all of this, Mark?
You know, who gets it? For now, it's in books.
Yeah.
The reader gets it. The consumer gets it. Down the road, it's hard to say. I mean, it depends upon how far this goes and how wide it goes. But for me, what's great about talking to these artists is once they hear my mission, which is I'm not interested in the trash. I don't care about the rehab. Not interested in the six wives. I'm interested in your art, in your creative side. Talk to me about your creation. As soon as they hear that, they no longer have to put on airs. They no longer have to do their strutting thing. They're basically talking about creating. Yep. And when they talk about creating, the most amazing thing happens. You get all of these rich detail, and then you realize once you do that these people are really exceptional. They are really at the top, and they really belong there.
Well, I've always believed that creativity is an addiction, and I want to sit down and I want to listen to them. I want to hear how they go through the process, because it still kills me with Chris Cornell. I still ache, and I want to know why. What went wrong? Why wasn't I there listening?
I mean, you know, the reason you and I are rock stars, and the reason why 10,000 people who can play instruments or 10 million people who play instruments aren't rock stars, is rock stars, like great actors, are broken toys.
Mm-hmm.
They're damaged in some way, and that's who they are. And what makes them special is they're able to go inside, deal with that broken aspect, deal with that depression, deal with those mental issues, and turn it into creative material, raw material, which is what you and I would call a song. Yeah. And the amazing thing is when they do it at that level, you and I feel it in the heart, and it's all air. They're just singing about something, whether it's Barracuda or a bad reputation, but somehow the way they're doing it, we feel it in our heart. And that's what makes these people and the songs in my book, Anatomy of 55 More Songs, special.
Can you imagine being a fly on the wall when T-Rex brought out Bang a Gong? That song to me is still fresh every time I hear it. I don't get sick of it.
Marc Bolan never has been given enough credit for pioneering the whole glitter glam thing. Much of that look was when I was interviewing, when I was doing the interviews for it, I was very curious about why he went that way. And what I was told is that he had a girlfriend who took him to King's Row in London, and she started putting on her clothes. He started putting on those clothes too. And what they realized, whether it's Bowie or Marc Bolan or any of the glitter glam artists that came out of London, is that by doing this, they could capture the attention and the fantasies of the women in the audience, and the guys loved it too, because it was hard rock. So they basically got 100% of their universe.
There are so many artists, Marc, that don't want to, give out what the story is about. They always want to believe that it's our interpretation that counts more. I love it when they let me break down the song. How do you get inside?
For me, I want to. What you see in this book, and if you love it, Arrow, and it sounds like you did, what I did in this book is I turned these stories into songs. In other words, it's a song inside a song.
Oh, nice.
So when you read about the Hollies, or you read about Motown, or you read any of the songs in this book, you're actually reading a story about the song, not a tick-tock of what happened, but there's a story. Like, for instance, Sunshine Superman, where the entire song is about Donovan trying to get back to his old flame. And the odyssey that takes place over time, where he's hoping to get back to her, and then the accident that happens at the end is a mind blower, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's seeing it's stuff like this that radio used to talk about. Now Charlie Daniels is a Carolina boy, so we got to talk a lot, and he knew I was never a fan of The Devil Went Down to Georgia. What is it about this song?
It's the only way that you can understand this song is if you have a ice cold long neck beer in your hand and you're in a bar, because it's a stomping song, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an energy level thing, and that's what fiddling is anyway. I mean, fiddling, if you go back into the 1700s and the 1800s, there was no television, there were no electric diversions. Families either sang folk songs to each other, or they had a barn dance, and the barn dance was energetic. So Charlie Daniels really gets that the energy level has to be high. The mind blower in that one for me in the book is when he revealed who his favorite violinist was, and that was Yitzhak Perlman, the classical great. And it was just amazing to me that Yitzhak Perlman called him up and told him how much he and his kids loved Charlie Daniels playing. It just goes to show you that music, it doesn't know north and south, red and blue, male, female, red states, blue states. Music, like food, transcends all of that. And that just shows you the culture clash and how culture means nothing. It's just two guys admiring each other's playing.
This book is so important because every generation is calling all music their music. And when people read the stories inside the Anatomy of 55 More Songs, I mean, this is brilliant. You've got to come back to this show anytime in the future, Marc. The door is always going to be open for you.
Arrow, you just call, I'll be there, as the song goes.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you so much. You too.